a little wider. Brings ball back for Marshall. The footwork. Benji Marshall. Now with speed. The footwork again. Away from Peachy. Passes without looking. Away for Richards. Back to Fitzhenry. That is as good as you will see.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the SuperCoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan. With us tonight, we can't really call him a guest because he's been an admin on the Tragics page for quite some time now. So we'll welcome, he's making his debut for the podcast, or for any podcast that matter. Jake, welcome aboard, mate.
Hey, boys, thanks for having me.
No problems, mate. How are the nerves, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I just had a pizza and some water, so I'm laughing.
Yeah, I usually have a beer or something beforehand. That normally calms my nerves too. So there you go, Timmy. How's your season going, mate? I know you're normally a head-to-head player, but how are you going?
Mate, I'm okay. I'm about 5K ranked. Started out good, and then made a few bad decisions. You know, a few dumb trades through the year, and then I'm starting to rally back now. So, I mean, it's been good, mate. Just a few bad decisions here and there. Like round 13, if I would have gone Grant to Robson like I wanted to, I'd be a lot better off. But,
yeah, no. Well, if every decision we made was right, we'd all come first every single year. So, yeah, sometimes you've got to fail to get those decisions right in the end. So, right, thanks, mate. And he was so good last week. We had to bring him back again. Timmy O, how was your week, mate?
Yeah, good. I thought you must have been talking about Glen. Yeah, no, mate, not bad. Well, I say not bad, but no, I dropped 2,000 spots, which was really annoying. I picked up 2,500 the week before and then dropped 2,000 this week. So it's my third red arrow since bloody round 5 or whatever it was. So that's a bit annoying. So just, what am I, back to 12K again or something. So, yeah, I've worked really hard on trying to get towards the top 10K and then, yeah, just dropped a couple. So frustrating, but is what it is. I had Manu obviously out. I VC'd Teddy, but the downside was I had I actually went a bit of a pod play, played Burbo. That didn't go so well after getting knocked out in the first, 5 minutes or whatever. He was looking all right, being on 15 points, and then that was the last time he scored. Andrew Fafita came in as my AE. I was hoping he'd get his 25 to 30 like he normally does. So he banged out 15 points, and then had Cody Walker bang out another 15. So you put 3 scores of 15 in the mix, and then you only need a couple of others to flop, and things got pretty ugly really quickly. So I think I went, it was about 1170 something. No, not even that. No, it was 11-14. So, yeah. Which was pretty average after I played nearly the same team and got a 1370 something the week before. So, yeah, it's funny how SuperCoach works.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I actually had Burbo ready to play over Barnett last week, and then I decided last second to just change my mind and stick with what I know. At least Barnett will get me, say, 40. And lucky I did that because I thought Burbo would have scored more, and if he stayed on the field, he would have. So, very lucky there. All right, and as always, he's an author, he's a super coacher, and I've seen him dance on TikTok. He's a triple threat. That's Glen. Welcome back, mate. How was your week?
Yeah, good, mate. I feel like Noah. Yeah, I got 1,248. I also BC Teddy and Luke. I got Mulatalo as my AE. So it wasn't a terrible week. I'm up to 7K after losing 4K the week before, which hurt me. The non-Manu owner was a bit of a slap to the face. So, but yeah, climbing back up again, trying to get back to 3K again.
Yeah, no, all the best, mate. With me, I was lucky enough to captain Teddy, but the rest of my team let me down. So I also had Cody in there as well. A couple other duds there that got some pretty bad scores, but I managed to get 1161. So not the greatest score, but I haven't really undone the good work I've done over the last 2 weeks. I only lost 800 spots, so I'm still 16,000. So considering where I was 3 weeks ago, I'm pretty stoked still. And I'm hoping to get a good run home. So, all right, let's start with the first segment, and that's the Market Watch ins and outs. So we'll go to Timmy first up. So number one, traded in for the week. No brainer here, mate. Teddy.
Yeah, look, like you said, mate, no brainer. He's looked really, really good. coming out of Origin, well, through Origin, he looked really good. He got his hands on the ball more than he ever has, and he's doing the same thing with the Roosters. We were talking about him last week, said in order for the Roosters to play finals footy or to even push towards the top 4 at best, he needed to be on fire, and look, the Roosters have looked pretty good. They've got another fair, well, relatively juicy matchup this week, and I think they're just going to go gangbusters. I think you need Teddy, you need Manu, and go berserk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wouldn't say you need Manu, but because I think getting him in is pretty expensive. But yeah, I think he's a hard one to watch if you haven't got him. So. Yeah. All right. We'll go to you, Jake, for number 2 traded in. Payne Haas, number 2 traded in for the week. What are your thoughts on that one?
Mate, I can see what they're doing, but I think it depends on your team. I mean, if you've got Tarpany and Papali up there, I don't see why you'd do it. But if you those two, even Max King, I'd probably just take his points. I mean, you know, Haas had a blinder with a try and still only scored 70 points without that or something. So, I mean, I don't know. It depends on your trades.
No, I reckon you hit the nail on the head there when you said it's team dependent. So if you're everyone's pretty low on trades. If you're going to lose one of those very rare trades left, to bring in a backup front rower is just crazy. You could be bringing in someone like Amini or someone that's a similar price that's going to have a higher ceiling. I don't want to use any of my last final trades on base players that are going to have no ceiling. I can see if you got like maybe a IPAP and maybe a Ming and you want to bring another front rower in, then I can see that bringing in there. But like, I'm trying to think of it like if you're bringing Haas this week, the best case scenario, you'll see it maybe slight green arrows. Worst case scenario, you'll see slight red arrows. It's not going to do anything. If you're happy to getting mediocre scores every week, I think that's the way to go. But I think there's other ways to go about it. Normally, I don't talk too much on a single trading, but yeah, I'm really against this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to trip in here. I just don't think front row's the place you should be playing this late in the season. You should be looking for ceiling. I said a few weeks ago to people, don't sell Haas, and I wouldn't have sold Haas, but I definitely wouldn't be going out of my way to bring him in. I've got Lolo, Pap, and Ming, and I don't see any purpose to the point differential being big enough for me to waste a trade in that area.
Yeah, no question. Like, I can see why people are doing it. Like, he's never going to be this cheap ever again. But like,
yeah,
it's just like the wrong time of the year to really be doing that. So, all right. So move on to number 3 traded in, Glen. Jojo Fafita. What are your thoughts on this one, mate?
Well, obviously, people are doing it for cash, and if you're doing it for cash, you must have a fair few trades to be able to afford to do that. So good luck to you. I'd say it's head-to-head players, not overall players that are doing that. He's got good base, though, for centre wing, so I don't hate that trade. He's not a bad 6th or 7th option.
The only thing I would say is often this time of the year we're trading in nuffs and we're trying to build our cash that way. And I can see a reason why people would bring in Jojo, because I don't think nuffs are really ideal with all the issues that may happen. Like you see what's happening in Manly with lost players galore. We have COVID that's running rampant. I can see maybe this could be the way to go to build that depth while also building that cash up. And like you said before, he's got pretty decent base, so extra warm body on the field there. So I'm not doing it, but I can see why people are doing it. Yeah,
I only have one NPR, and normally this time of season I'd be down to about 19 players.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not the year to be doing that, not with COVID and stuff. Depth, I think this year's imperative.
No doubt. All right, we'll move on to the next one. So Val Holmes, Timmy, had a pretty good week last week.
Yeah, look, I unfortunately, this sounds a bit of a strange roundabout way of going through it, but I held on to Cooler last week. I really looked at going Cooler to Val, and just because of BEs, I held Cooler for that bit longer. Figured he'd get a 50 or something like that. He'd make 100K, and then that gap between him and Val would be a bit smaller this week. I wasn't predicting Manly to not play the same way that they had been playing, and Cooler obviously had a fairly low down week, which really hurt me. But then it's just meant that gap between the two players has gotten a bit bigger. So look, it's I absolutely wish I brought in Val last week. He would have made a massive difference. Would have meant that I didn't get the red arrows and probably would have squeezed into 10K. But yeah, look, again, Cowboys are on fire. They're playing really, really well. And even at that, last week wasn't their best game. And they still got the chocolates. So I think Drinkwater had an off game. I think that makes a bit of a difference to Val's score as well.
Did they?
Did they win? Did they? Yeah, talking to a Tigers fan, aren't we?
Lawsuit pending.
Oh, mate, it's yeah. Let's not go there. I'm sure there's plenty of podcasts who have talked about the shit fight from last week. But yeah, anyway. So look, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. I think Val's great quality. He's going to be great for head-to-head players as well as overall players. He's one of the sorts of players that I talk about in my Fear Factor group. Just one of those guys that's too scary not to own. He can pull anything out of nothing and score 100. So yeah, look, he's a bit of a different player to Teddy and Manu and some of those other high ceiling guys that we're used to getting. I can't see Val going 150 to 200, but I think he does 100 relatively easily, and he's a safe bet to bank on.
You know, I do agree with the Cowboys being on fire, doing all right this year. I've seen a few little holes in their last few games in their way the Cowboys have been playing, and just quietly they may appear later on in the episode in my bold predictions. Okay,
well, I think that with Cotter back could see a little change to how they play.
Yeah. All right, I'll move on to number 5, most traded in player this week. Jake, I love this guy, mate. Matty Burton.
Yeah, mate, I'm a fan. I got him very lucky last. I just like to say in one of my head-to-heads, I was playing against Ange, and I just wanted to say, you know when a tennis player hits the ball and hits the net and just falls over. I just want to say the story like that. I was up 20 or 30 points with versus Max King, and I was at a pub, and I had brought in Drinkwater, and at 159, I swapped it to Burton, and it was a good afternoon, and poor Ange lost the head-to-head. So
well played, mate. Well played.
That locked me up for 8, so I'm happy days. Look, I watched him last week. He's getting his hands on the ball a lot. The Dogs are scoring points. He's kicking goals. I mean, pretty happy, to be honest.
Yeah, one thing, there's going to be a bit of a debate on who we need to get in that 5-8 position there. And in one of the chats earlier, Glen made a really good point that the Dogs don't share the points with very many players. So Burton tends to get most of those points. When it comes to like Munster, you've got players out there like Hughes and even Meany and Harry Grant that can steal those points away. I'm not saying that Burton's a better choice than Munster, but there's more potential there for Burton, I believe. So, all right, we'll move on to number 6 most traded in. I'll segue into it. Glen, Munster, you reckon no-brainer?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I think most sides built their sides ready to bring him in this round for these 2 matchups, Warriors and Titans. I'd be a little. What I've seen from Melbourne the last 4 games would make me a little apprehensive. It's made me not. It's made me balk. So I was getting Munster this round, and I'm not now. But look, I still think he'll. I mean, he's had 5 games over 100. He's been pretty solid this season. So I don't think you're going wrong by getting Munster.
Yeah, and I think even though Melbourne have been quite average over the last 4 weeks now, Munster seems to want to take it on his shoulders himself as well. So he's still getting his hand on the ball a lot, and he's trying to do a lot with it. It's only going to be a matter of time now before he actually starts breaking that line a lot more and starts to get those big points.
I still think though there's other 5/8s out there that offer a better ceiling, just from my viewpoint and based on draw. And I think Burton's one of those. I think that Ezra Man this week could actually have a good one as well.
Yeah, there's a few out there. All right. Now,
I just ask before we do move on. I'm one of the coaches that are toying with the idea of Munster. I haven't got him. I've got Drinky and Cody Walker. Obviously, Cody Walker had a shocker last week. I'm not convinced that it wasn't HIA related. He obviously had his HIA early in the game, and after that, he was a passenger for the rest of the 80 minutes. So yeah, look, I've got no doubt that the knock on the head made a big difference to how Cody played for the rest of the game. But I mean, he's got a massive BE this week. Is the smart play for me to move him onto Munster? The fact that I've got Drinkwater as well, I held on to Drinkwater thinking that the Cowboys run home was fantastic. And obviously he got hooked early in the game. Now, that's one of the only games I didn't get to watch last week, so I've only sort of taken the advice from everybody else. But, yeah, with Munster there, with the draw that they've got over the next 2 weeks at least, I don't know, should I be bringing him in?
And I just add to that because we spoke about this earlier on the pod, and I personally think that Cody Walker's influenced by Latrell's addition. Latrell goes left a lot, which is Cody's set play, his pet play, and Latrell sort of comes in on that sweep play and either runs himself or passes out and to the winger, which I think is impacting Cody Walker. I think that their next round game's a good one for Cody, but from there on in, I don't see anywhere I would play him.
And that's pretty much what I've looked at too. Like, looked at the draw and who they've got to play against for the next 5 weeks, and you just go, geez, yeah, I don't know.
I'm looking at Munster this week. I mean, Munster's a player that when I don't like watching the game. He's on everything. He looks good. And once, you know what, if you saw him with Puppy in the team, he was just getting half a break and then throwing offloads. Once Meany starts to be a better support player, it's going to be all over again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we saw what happened. Like, obviously, Garrick has been filling in for Turbo over the last few years now with his injuries. And even last year, Garrick was, just he could tell he was a fill-in fullback. But this year, he's gone up another level. That's just from game time practice. And if Meany has to do this as well, Meany has the skill to do it. It's just going to be timing, get that timing right with those set plays. And Meany's going to be, it's very similar to what Garrick's doing right now. So... And the other thing as well, you said before, because you got Drinkwater as well, I would be scared as hell to own Drinkwater right now. So you're in a bad position right there, whether you sell Cody. Because I got Brown and Cody, and Drinkwater's scary to own because if he has a good game, he stays on. If he has a bad game, there's no fear from the coach to just pull him off. So it's going to be a scary one to own. I'm hoping but in saying that, he can pull his finger out. And after last week, he's probably going to be very upset that he got pulled off, and he's going to come back at a crack again this week. So I'm trying to put that into the universe there for you, mate.
Yeah, I'd be nervous with Drinkwater.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll move on to number 7, most traded in this week, and that's Latrell. Timmy, your thoughts on Latrell?
Oh, absolutely. I was all over him as soon as he was named first back from injury. I actually put him in for his first week back, and I've been laughing ever since.
Yeah, no, I like Latrell, but I'm not trying to think. So you got a few options there. So you got Teddy, Latrell. We've got Hines. I know you can put Hines in the other positions as well. There's a couple of options out there in fullback. Is Teddy and Trell the right option, do you reckon?
That's what I've got, and I'm planning on holding till the end. That was the plan. I moved Hines back up to half, moved Drinky from fullback up into 5'8", and then now that gave me Teddy and Trell down in fullback.
Yeah, I was never going to do that. And then last week, the ruling of Manu being ruled out, I brought in Tedesco. Now I have Latrell and Mitchell, and Latrell, Mitchell, and Tedesco, and I'm loving it right now. Especially looking at that Roosters draw in specific matchups and head-to-head. And they're playing at the SCG a fair bit as well. So I'm looking forward to watching what Teddy can do later on. So, all right. Number 8, most traded in this week, Suwali. Jake, thoughts on that, mate?
Mate, I've got a bit of a man crush on Suwali. Just everything he does just impresses me. So I think the Roosters, outside Manu, I can see him getting a double or triple this week. I think he's a good trade. The only thing is the Roosters draw tightens up a bit. Could you wait? Are you just going for this week, or could you wait and maybe get a Sharks player in next week, for their run home, which might be a bit. So I suppose it's team dependent on what you've got coming up this week. I mean, if you've got guys like Talakai and Muatalo and you want to rest one of them this week and then get Suwali in the meantime, then go for it, I think it's a good shout, but he's good to own he's good to watch if you own him.
Yeah, he's hard to bloody watch when you don't, that's for sure. So it's like, I remember when we first came out, we heard all this hype about how good he was, and then we started watching him play, and I was like, yeah, he's all right. And now all of a sudden he's just proven everyone how good he is, and he's looking real good to watch. So
I don't think, not just that, the fact that the Roosters keep going to the right. Like he gets the ball. It's obviously Tupou's game has gone down a little. He's not scoring as consistently as he was. He's obviously still getting some big scores, but they certainly seem to be going right a lot more often than they used to. If in doubt, they'd kick the high bomb, go to Tupou's left wing, and let something happen. Now they seem to be doing it more so out the right side than they do the left.
Yeah,
But
imagine having those attacking weapons on both sides. That's freakish.
yeah, absolutely.
Desco's a right-hander, so he's going to play dominantly that
Yeah.
side.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be shocked if Suwali's not in the Blues team next year.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Glenn, move on to number 9 most traded in, mate. I brought him in last week. I didn't need to, but I wanted to get ahead of the game for this week, and that's Cam Murray.
Yeah, I don't mind Cam Murray. I think that unlike other players, his draw isn't so relative to that for him, so that in the tougher games, it's actually suited to him. I own Cook, so getting Murray would be a nice addition. I think if you have Cook, Murray together, it's a nice little combo. Yeah, I like it.
You know, I brought in Teddy last minute and obviously captained him, and that won me my head-to-head, so I didn't need to make my second trade, but then I thought I have a tough matchup coming up the week after, so I'm going to get ahead of the game and get in a keeper that's long-term, and that way I can set up my team for the next week. And I was pretty stoked getting Murray in as well. For the price it was a bargain. So
Good trade.
All right, and Timmy, last one, number 10 traded in, mate, is Manu. Would you be paying $800K for a centre?
Oh, mate, considering the start of last round, I know we talked about it here off air before the pod. I looked at the possibility of selling Manu for $800K so that you could ship it around. Obviously, it was a very left field thing that we talked about. But, yeah, look, he's scoring points. It doesn't seem to matter where he's playing. They're making sure he gets the ball. He's the new turbo floating fullback centre for bloody New South Wales type theory. He's just going to get the ball. He's going to keep scoring points. As simple as that. The only obviously downside, like we talked about, the Roosters don't have the greatest draw for the next from now till the end. They've got some easy games, some hard games. But like we said, the Roosters have to keep playing well. They have to keep winning football games to play finals football, and they obviously want to get as close to the top 4 as they can, so that they get 2 bites of the cherry.
Can I just give some pros and cons here?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. So pros to him is that there's players that Manly have got replaced. They've lost their whole left side with Olakau'atu, Saab and Koala. So I think that Manu Suwali could actually run a muck down there. But I think it's short term if you're buying Manu this week, because if you look past that, you've also got to remember the other side of that is they've got Tedesco, Kiri, Walker, Manu, Suwali, all stealing points from Supercoach. So, you could find yourself losing out to a Teddy on, Manu's had that happen to him a lot at centre wing. When he plays at centre, he doesn't get that last pass. So it could actually be affected by Kiri, Walker or Tedesco.
Yeah. Yeah, you go, Tim.
I can see him losing cash, don't get me wrong, in the long run. But I think as far as having the quality of that player down in your centre wing, and then like in my case, I'm at the moment, I've got 6 really good centre wings, and there's still some that I'm missing. Like I don't have Val, and he's one I want to get in, and I can't really work out the right way to do it because I've got 6 quality centre wings. So, yeah, like to bring Manu in is a great player if you're in head-to-head finals and things like that. He's a great player to have in there. He's certainly solid. He's not the guy that's going to give you a 15 or 20 like some of the others can on a bad day. I mean, look at Mulatalo last week. I've held on to him for about 5 weeks now, and every week I'm going, shit, this guy's a spud. He's like, you've got to sell him. But just holding on to him because we keep talking about how good the Sharks run is on the way home. So, whereas I think Manu's not that kind of player. Like a crap score for Manu is a 50. And on any given day, he's going to give you 60, 70, 80, 90. So I think he's a player that a smart Supercoach would have in there. Would I be busting your team apart to get him? No. Is he probably going to lose money? I would say so over the next 6 weeks at some stage. But, yeah, look, I think if you're trying to win a competition, then absolutely he's a player you've got to have.
That's the thing. I was like, when we did our pre-season podcast, I talked about when you get a low ownership player, like a pod, you got to ask your question, why are they a pod? And if it's just because of money, that's the best kind of pod because it means that no one's getting him in. It means there's no reason, there's no downsides per se. But I just think that's a lot of money. Like, I think there's only valid points out there. I guarantee there'll be a lot of people there wishing they had him this week against that side. I am nervous, but I actually think he scores better in those closer games. And I think you'll see that if they put on a big flogging, he's going to be trying to share the ball a bit more and not going to try to put on more tries. I think he puts more points on in more effort runs when the game's on the line.
And something Jake said earlier, which I think was important, was that, yeah, you could get Manu this week and possibly get a 130 score out of him, or you could jump on someone from Sharks on the right side, like a Ramian or a Tracy next week, and get them for 5 games in a row that could get you some decent scores. So it depends on what your needs are. But personally, I'd be looking long term. I do think Manu will go big though.
Just to give you, he's currently 40% ownership. 3-round average 124, 5-round average 113. Obviously, some of those games Teddy didn't play. He played at 5'8". He also played at fullback in that time. His current break even is -8. So as soon as he walks on the field, he's going to make money this week. That was obvious. But I just meant long term over the next 6 weeks. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes back under 800K or under 700K. But he might make 100 grand this week, but could in 3 weeks' time just lose it just as quickly. So, I didn't mean that this week he was going to lose cash. I meant sort of over now and the end of the season.
Yeah, he can get like 70 3 weeks in a row, which is nothing to say I'd be upset about, but he'll lose money in that 3rd week probably because of how high priced he is. So, right.
He actually only averaged in the early 70s in centre.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're paying 800K for someone who's probably averaging 70s in that position, which got to program that.
The only thing I'm kind of hoping on, if you noticed last year when he went on that bit of a tear as well, he was still playing in the centres, but he was playing that roaming centre role. He didn't do that at the start of last year. He did it at the end of last year. And I'm hoping that pattern kind of follows into 2022. And if that's the case, then he will average more than what he would in a normal centre position. So, but that's just all me wishing to the fairies. So, all righty, let's move into the trade outs of the week. We'll go to you, Jake. First one is I don't say no-brainer because if you've got more priorities, you can do it. But Cooler, he's not playing this week. He's made his money. Ready to offload?
Yeah, I mean, Manly, the trouble they've got. Kohler's, he's had 2 bad rounds. His BE's getting high. I can see why people are selling him to other players, Sharks players, maybe even selling him to free up cash. He's a sell, I think. If I had to boost this week, I'd sell him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only reason I suggest you'd hold is if you had more important things to worry about, or if you had a solid team this week and you didn't, like you said before, if you want to wait on getting a Sharks player next week, you could hold that trade and use it next week because you're not losing any money this week. So it's the only reason I say hold it, but he's definitely a sell. All right, Glenn, here comes a bit of a controversial one. That's why I was having it for you, mate. Ola Kawatu, number 2, traded out this week.
Yeah, nah, I wouldn't be doing it. I think he's one of the highest scoring in the second row position from memory, or third highest scorer in second row position. I certainly wouldn't be doing it. He's either of those overall or head-to-head player. I think that he's someone that could get you 90 around that scores quite often.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw he got an ankle injury the other day, and they had Dylan Walker on that played left the whole time. But Lachlan Croker's back there. I mean, Manly still have their spine. And even though Ola's not playing this week, he will next week, and they'll have the nucleus of that side back as well.
And also, he'll any worries of that foot injury would have been probably gone after a week off as well. So
yeah, it was just a bump. He got the actual studs. I slowed it down. The studs actually hit him in the ankle, which would have moved up and been quite painful for the game. But by the time he gets back to the field, that shouldn't be no issue at all.
Yeah. The only reason I would sell Ola Kawatu is if you absolutely have to. I'm maybe one of those people, and that's because I have to win my head-to-head this week.
Yeah.
I have no ifs or buts or maybes. I have to win it. If I lose, I'm out. If I win, I'm in. So, if you're in a head-to-head position where you have to sell, I'll condone that. Obviously, I think it's fine. But if you're safely in the top 8, you have no reason to fall out of the top 8, and you're going to be in the finals next week. You just hold him. Overall, you hold him. So there's only very certain circumstances that I would be selling Ola Kawatu, and I might have to do that this week, unfortunately. But he'd be a great. Actually, I think there was on the playbook they were talking about the percentage of players as well, and a lot of people sell Ola Kawatu this week. There'd be a pretty low percentage of people in the top 1,000 that actually have him. I think it's about top 1,000 when you think about it. I think it was like 54 in the top 1,000%,
Okay.
which is still 500 players that haven't got him. That's actually pretty crazy when you think about it. So,
Yeah.
all right, we'll move on to the next one. Cody Walker, number 3 most traded out. We'll go to you, Timmy. I know you were in similar boat, so funny how that worked out.
Yeah, thanks. This is why I asked before, because I got no idea what to do. Yeah, look, strange enough, I've got Cooler, I've got Olakuatu, I've got Cody Walker. I could imagine Drinkwater and Max King are probably on this list somewhere too. And I'll be honest, it's 5 players that I've got no idea what the hell I'm going to do with. I've still got 6 trades and I've got a boost. So I've thrown all sorts of things out there in the last couple of days to try and work out what to do. Whether I use a boost, go down to 3 trades for the run home, but I think that's probably getting a little bit too skinny. I think at the moment I've got 6 trades and that's an advantage. I think a lot of teams won't have 6 trades at the moment. So I'm sort of trying to get my head around what to do. With Cody Walker, who knows? Hey, look, I couldn't tell anyone to jump up and down and keep him. I couldn't tell anyone to jump up and down and sell him. It's a team dependent thing. I guess it depends on who you've got in your other 5/8 position. Depends on what duels you've got that you might be able to move guys around as well. But you've still got Drinkwater down at fullback or something. You could dump Cody, bring Drinkwater up and bring in a fullback. So then you can obviously move centre wing around. You can change it. The duels, we're really blessed with the amount of duels that we've got this year. So look, your whole team can change just from making one trade like that. But yeah, look, I honestly, I've got no idea. And hence why I asked the question before. So at this stage, I'm trying to limit the trades. So I'm keeping them for head-to-head finals and keeping them for my charge over the last 4 weeks. But yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to keep them or selling.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm on the sell train at the moment. I think I'm leaning towards selling him just because it is so stressful watching him. 1 week he will get like a decent score. Next week he gets a 15, which is just hard to watch. And his matchups tell me that he's going to be getting a few more 15s than he is tons the rest of the year. So, All right, we'll move on to number 4 most traded out, Jakey. So that's Tass. I think he's done his job as well. I think it's time to move him on.
Yeah, I think he's made his money. I think people who are probably selling him are maybe buying that Fafita from the Titans, up a couple of $100K, and then he's done his job. He's, Campbell Graham's due back. He might even come back for the one game he'd won, which is the Warriors game. So, no brainer, sell him.
Yeah. I think for a young fella, he's actually he's not going overly crazy good. He's had a few good games in him, but he's got a pretty decent highlight reel already, hasn't he? He's got somebody good try assists and stuff already. He's been good to watch.
A lot better when Latrell's not there.
Yeah, definitely.
Like taking kicks, done a few offloads, setting up tries that way. So, I just, don't fault anyone for selling him though.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll go to you, Glenn. Next one on the list, and that's Ezra. Traded out, mate. Number 5 most traded out this week.
I'm stunned by that one. I think this matchup's a perfect one. They're playing the Tigers this week. You know what I mean? Like up in Suncorp. Like I'm playing him over Brown this week. I'm actually benching Dylan Brown and playing Ezra Mann. So, I mean, I personally wouldn't be doing it. I think they've got a few good matchups from memory, the Broncos.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so...
The only thing I can say is that why people are doing this is because there's so many decent options in the 5/8 position right now that they're just trying to get that name. I think they got look at it, Munster. He has the name. You want to have him in your team. He just looks so much better having him in your team. And someone's got to go to get this guy in. But like you said, if you think outside the box and you look at the draw running home, there's players out there that can average out more than Munster. And it's going to be hard to watch Munster, but I reckon Ezra has a good draw. He has a bloody good running game. He runs that line nicely. He has a lot of chances for attacking stats. So
I just offer also a bit of advice to people. If you've got 2 5/8s, to look at the matchups based on which ones you play. You may find that Ezra Mann you can play 1 week. I mean, obviously Munster you're going to want to play for the next 2. But some of the ones after that aren't so pretty, but some of the ones for Ezra Mann are better. So sometimes it's good to have a look at the draw all the way through, and you might find 2 sides that stand out. For example, Bulldogs and the Cowboys and the Sharks. You know what I mean? Like there's even Matt Moylan. I know people are going to laugh at that voice, that sound of that voice, but the name, I mean, but, even he could pop out a decent score for people as a pod.
Yeah, there's a reason why people are pods, mate. It's not, and we all know that Matt Moreland has a ceiling when he wants to, which is very rare that you see it. So
he has an injury too.
Yeah.
So this would be the longest stretch of games he's played in probably 5 years, I'd imagine.
Yes.
I don't know what the exact numbers are in front of me, but I'd imagine he's probably played 10 straight games for the first time in 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's looked really good. Not perfect, not back to his best, but his best is a few seasons back now. But this is certainly the best footy he's played for a very long time.
Yeah, his running game has been pretty good.
Yeah.
I've got a little thing I'll never buy him. He, in an Oz tag semi-final once, he kicked on the third tackle, which you can't do, and won the game. Give it. I don't like
Bloody grub.
I did that to us, and he said suck out at the end of it too. So
I heard that. Don't buy him. He's a grub.
Jake says.
But if it was my team, I would have loved him.
All right, we'll go to you, Timmy, for number 6 most traded out. Funny how this worked out, mate. Drink water.
Oh, yeah. Easy one. Look, same comments, guys. The only reason I would keep drinking is the same reason why I've held him for the last couple of months. Is the Cowboys draw is great. But mind you, I thought they would have put 50 plus on the Tigers last week, and that didn't quite go to plan either. So, look, I think they'll have a bit of a rocket up them after that game. It'll be interesting to see how they all react after the fact that the whole world basically knows they lost, but they won. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the players come out and play this week. I think the fact that he got hooked is probably, hopefully, giving him the kick in the arse that he probably needed, and comes out and plays on fire like he did the 3 weeks before that.
Not fair enough. I think he's one of those. He's got so much risk behind owning him, but there's some reward there if you're patient with him. I got him in one of my drafts, and I had a cap on him quite a bit this year, and he's been doing pretty good for me. And then I had it on him also on the weekend. It didn't help me at all. But all right, we'll move on to number 7 most traded out, and that's Ming. So, Jakey, what do you think about Ming trading him out?
Look, he won't be leaving my team. I think I've just got him for the run home. I've got 6 trades left. I'll be using 2 this week. I think that's a luxury trade.
Yeah.
And I think if it's going to Haas, which I assume a lot of these trades are doing, I think save your trade and you'll need it, especially with all this COVID going around at the moment.
Yeah.
You'll wish you hung on to Ming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been a saving grace for a lot of people, especially playing late in the week every single round. So,
could I just say, just to play a little bit devil's advocate, for less than 100K, you can turn Ming into Cam Murray. So I think it's about 85K or something, 90K. I mean, that's massive. If you thought that at the start of the season, you would have been all over it. But the fact that he's got his dual second row forward, front row forward, if one of your front rowers goes down, you can move him up there, and all of a sudden you might have a whole stack of cash to put into second row, or then move some duals around and sort out your 5'8" or fullback or something like that. So the fact that he's got dual is, I think that's enough of a reason in itself to keep him. Much the same as I've done with some of my other crap players that I've kept for a while. It just gives you a lot more options this later in the season if an injury happens.
Yeah, I don't know, when you think about like trading him to Cam Murray, it sounds ideal. It does sound pretty good, but like, how many points are you putting value-wise on a trade at this time of the year? I would I think the versatility, like you said already, of Ming is too valuable to really avoid. And then what's Murray going to average? We'll say 75.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there, but if you're doing Ming to Murray, in my opinion, that's a really good trade.
I just don't know how much is a trade worth in points.
Yeah, and that's a fair argument. It's trade dependent and team dependent.
Yeah, but
you'd have to think that in a perfect world, Murray, Ming to Murray, you're looking at 15 to 20 points average per round. Yeah. So you're looking at 100 to 150 points on average between now and the end. So
Murray does have a ceiling, but there's also a negative to Murray, which is minutes and rotation. So, But I do agree with you. There is a ceiling there. I like I said before, and I'll say it again. If you're down under 4 or 5 trades, you want to be looking at halves, fullbacks, and centre wings. That's where you'll find your ceiling.
Yeah.
I think personally, I'd actually go to Haas before I went to Murray for that cheaper amount, and I think Haas is probably going to score the same as Murray.
Yeah, that's
good point.
I don't hate that at all.
And that's just about a straight swap. There's about 20k in it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Glenn, we'll move on to you, mate. Number 8 most traded out this week is Mitch Moses.
Yeah, based on the draw they've got coming home, I think most of us, I had Mitch Moses through the bye period and he done his job for me very well. And then I moved him on last round. It's definitely time to sell. I can't see anywhere where you would honestly play him in the matchups to the left.
Yeah, especially I think Moses was that perfect little band-aid to have over that last few weeks in that period there. He was scoring some decent scores, a good little band-aid just to put over that gap that you had in your halves. And now all of a sudden it's over now. Get ready for the run home. Moses done a great job for you.
Yeah.
All right, Timmy, Talakai, number 9, most traded out this week. Luxury trade. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely luxury trade. Another one where the dual is going to come in handy. You're crazy. I've got Targo up in second row. I've still got Burbo in second row, and I've got Talakai down in centre wing. You got an injury, you can move Talakai up into second row, and especially over the last few rounds, he's going to be worth his weight in gold. I think you're bonkers if you're selling him now. If you've held him this long, he's definitely someone you want to keep. Might not be a play this week, although I played him last week and rested Mulatalo. But and that may be the case again this week. But we'll, I think next week onwards, you're mad. You want to load up on Sharks.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that's one of the guys you'd probably want to target if he's scoring quite low. I wouldn't be upset about bringing him in next week, frankly.
That's right. I wouldn't be selling.
Absolutely.
And I have Cooler there that I'm not trading out this week, so I can trade him somewhere. And I can go Cooler to trade to him and be very happy with that trade. So, All right, number 10, Jake. Last one. Panasini, everyone's trading him out now. I think we mentioned it last week. It was probably 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago now. It was the time to trade him out. He's lost 200k since then. But yeah, you need to get rid of him.
He, I hung on to him for the buy round for 17, which hurt a bit. But yeah, look, he's got to go. Even their draw coming up. You've made your money on him. Well, not any more, but I've got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You wouldn't run him in any matchup on the way home. Similar to Moses, you would not run him. And if you did, you send us a shot.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, that wraps up all the market watch for trades and trades out. So we're looking at our next segment today, guys. And we're looking at strategies, trying to go with a theme here because it's one more week till head-to-head final start. So we're going to look at some strategies when it comes to how to beat your head-to-head opponent, how to approach the finals. And lucky we have Jake on as well. Jake's a very good head-to-head player as well. So I'm going to start with a couple of my strategies that I like to utilize myself. And I've utilized as a proactive and a reactive way of playing. So, for example, the last 2 weeks I've been up against matchups that might be a bit lower on the ladder, teams that I feel more confident in beating. So I'll happily watch the first 1 or 2 games to see where I'm sitting. And then I can just start slotting in players to try to match or to nullify their players. And that's worked very well for me over the last 2 weeks. This week I have a different approach because I'm actually versing a bit more of a intense head-to-head player. A much better team. I've had a look at his team. I kind of stalked their teams the week prior as well, see who they have, see who I want to try and match. And I'm going to look at doing some more guerrilla tactics, where I'm going to do some trades that might be on the spot before he even could see what they are especially in this Roosters Manly game. So he's going to have to react to what I do. So I'm going to try and get in the front foot there and make him panic a little bit. So things like potentially a straight C on Tedesco or Manu. It's a bit risky, but I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do there. Or even something like bring in a Tupou or someone like that, or even an Angus Crichton, someone that could potentially get a high score against them. So these are some of the strategies that I look at anyway. And it all depends on who you're versing. And one of the best things you can do is stalk their team, whoever you're playing that week. See who they got. And everyone plays SuperCoach a different way, but we can all look and go, what trade would I make if I had his team? So you can actually kind of preempt what they're doing as well. So I'm looking at him. He's got Ola Kawatu, for example, in his team. I'm looking at the rest of his team. He's got very little backup. He actually may have to sell Ola Kawatu this week. And I know that if I was in his boat, I would. So you look at the price he has. Say, for example, he can get Cam Murray and match me. So I'm going to try and find a little way to adapt to that as well. So that's one of my strategies anyway. It's probably a bit detailed there, so I'm hoping everyone's stuck with me. Is there anything, Jake, that you like to do in your head-to-heads, mate, to try to ensure you get a win?
Look, with me, it's a bit hard because I'm actually in probably 9 or 10 head-to-head comps. So realistically, until I get to finals and I'm knocked out of a few, I've got to just put my best team out every week. I can't really, like last week, that trade I did with Burton last minute, of course, I went through the other head-to-heads I was in, and it wasn't going to impact the result of that. Mm-hmm. So if that had impacted that result, I wouldn't have obviously done that. But things to do is your usual, players playing first, you run in your 13, and keep the later players in the reserves. I mean, if you need to make changes for head-to-head, you've got to be able to move those reserves around. That's the biggest key. And then obviously if you're doing trades and you got to do it by duels, you got to do them early. I mean, this week I'd love to play Ducks and Drakes, but with Manly playing first and the players that I want to come in are probably Storm players, I've got to act early this week. And even that you might be able to get a good little surprise this week by captain on Teddy on the Thursday night. Then you can get the jump on them. They won't see what you're doing, but all in all, I think the only thing difference with head-to-head is the bye rounds, really. For me, I've got to put my best team out every week, really.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the difference between you and me. I literally only have one league that I focus on. I'm in several cash leagues, but I kind of ignore those. I'm just in there because me and Brod run the cash comp, so I have to be in there. So when it comes to the head-to-head, I only have one head-to-head that I focus on. So if you can be hyper-focused on a head-to-head, it does help a lot with that one head-to-head. But yeah, it is very hard to try to match every other head-to-head. Yeah, trying to get the best team out there. And when you actually do a head-to-head comp, and you've got, say, 9 or 10 head-to-head leagues that you're in, if you're trying to do the best thing in all of those leagues, you tend to do quite well overall as well. Because, you're trying to get the whole team, the best team you possibly can. So
generally, I finish like in the decent in overall. I'm nowhere near Glen and those and you guys, numbers, but generally because I normally don't really focus on buys as much. I'm happy to have 8 players. Even in the old days, I was happy to have 10 players for a buy. Give that away, but then have 10. That's where I'd always lose points. But look, to be honest, I just like doing the best trades I can do every week, and I actually love, Glenn, how you always say, and I'm a fan of it, is why can't they just have an option?
Yeah.
Little tab where you can have 2 teams, one for overall, one for thing. It's in the same name, same. I'd love the community to push for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we got voices, they'd do it.
Yeah, I've been advocating it for a while. Can I just say one of the key differences that I notice as an overall player and a head-to-head player is that as an overall player, we'll often burn trades quicker, and we'll get to a side where we're looking at 5-round averages. So I'll be looking at what my team's going to best do over the next 5 rounds. Where a head-to-head player, you'll often find that they'll have at least 6 trades coming into the finals so that they're in a position to strike, so that they can watch what their opponent's doing and then they can change accordingly. And a good coach will know his opponent, and they will know when to strike and when they can trade, and when they're just beaten and you just let it go and think, well, I'm not going to get my 2 this week, so let's build for the one after or whatever. Whereas an overall player, they might be down to 2 or 3 trades now because they're building for an overall. I'm going to give you a groundbreaking strategy here for overall, right? Get more points.
I watched you guys doing trades in 17, and I was like, man, I just couldn't do that. Guys like Barnett and stuff, I was like, man, I could not do that trade.
Yeah, I get right. As a head-to-head player, I wouldn't have done any of that.
Yeah, exactly. I was watching it going, I could not do that trade, but it helps because here's a decent round. He got 97 that round, so I sort of helped that round. Big jump.
And I wouldn't touch round 13 and round 17. As I said, I'd look at my opponents, and if I looked at my opponent and I thought, I can't win this, and even if I make two head change trades, I still dicey or not, I'm going to win it. I'd rather hold them two trades and win the ones that I know I can comfortably win in the way that I can hold as many trades as I can up to the part that matters, which, as you know, starts from next week. So head-to-head and overall is a completely different strategy. And I agree with you 100%, Jake. I've been advocating for years to bring out two sides, one a head-to-head and one an overall, and we will be pushing it more and more because
I did it a couple of years ago. I did the old son, my name,
the wife team.
yeah.
And my head-to-head team actually finished better overall.
Yeah.
That's because I was probably crap at it. I overthought it. I was getting bye players in round two, around Adelaide. So,
well, one thing as well, the way my head-to-head set up that I look after is we play in the bye rounds as well. And I looked really ahead at the start of the round, and I thought, okay, so I've got a certain player that I'm up against in round 13, and he's an overall player normally. So I'm not going to even worry about that round. I'm already going to lose the head-to-head. So I started building my team for round 17, and I know that guy wasn't actually going to have very many players. Yeah, I think I had 17. I was ready to go. So I knew I was going to win that game, and also that's to help me boost my overall as well. So
that's the key difference that I see is that each one you're looking from match to match to match. Whereas as an overall player, I generally look at 5 matches at a time, usually 6.
Yeah.
I break it down into 6, and I look at what's the best score I can score over these 6 durations. And I actually know there's certain players within that team that aren't going to score consistently for that round, but over that duration, if they can average an X amount of points, that's what I'm buying for. That's the key element, the key difference for me is you're looking further ahead.
And on that double tab thing, I mean, I know I'd be happy to. If they wanted me to pay a $5 or $10 fee for a second thing, I'd do it in a hub. It could be money revenue for them too.
It'd be so easy. One, just click. That's our overall side. That's our head-to-head side.
Yep. They'd probably be similar.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So we kind of touched on it as well. So we just talked about head-to-head there as well, but we've also blended a bit of overall in there as well. So in a general sense, I think that overall really, it's like if the whole season is a race. You're in a car and trades are your fuel. You want to go through a lot more fuel to start with to get to a faster speed faster. That's what I reckon overall is all about. So, and with head-to-head, it's like a marathon pretty much. You got to take your time. Take every punch as it comes. So
I break it down into seasons. Like I start the season, it's all about cash and revenue. For me, it's all about revenue. As many points as I can get by building revenue. Then once I start to build revenue, it's about the buy period. The best thing I can do through buy period, and then it's the run home. Whereas as you say, head to head, it's more each matchup. It's different.
That's actually pretty good advice because I've tried to play overall. I haven't done really good at it, but it's really good to break it down to like quarters or something. That's actually a really handy little tip for me. And I might actually take that into consideration next year. So
the magic number I work off, like Glen said before, he's very similar to me. Is I work on 6 games at a time.
Yeah.
So I break the season up into 4 quarters, and that's how I work. So obviously we've already talked about it heaps, but my strategy this year didn't quite go to plan from the start, and I've been chasing my tail ever since. Next season I'll do things a little bit differently, but that was my version for the first time ever of trying to have a real crack at actually trying to win the damn thing. So it didn't work this year, but again, reassess and come back next year and do something a bit different. But I think the magic number is 6 games. I think if you work rounds 1 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, 18 to 24, and you sort of go from there. I think the way that they've changed the season this year so that head-to-head is in that second last round as opposed to the last round. I can't stress enough to players that are playing head-to-head, look at the draw properly. Because if you're looking like I can't remember which, it's Cowboys and Panthers play in round 25. So if you're a head-to-head player, it's done and dusted. Your season's done and dusted before the Cowboys and Panthers game. Whereas I've talked to a lot of guys online and people asking questions through Facebook and things like that, and they're stressing about, oh, yeah, but Cowboys play the Panthers in 25. And you go, that's great, mate. You're a head-to-head player. It means nothing. If you're an overall player who's trying to win the comp in the last round or break into the top 100 or the top 1,000 to get your goodies, then by all means, still go through to round 25. But this is where it'll make a difference as to whether you're an overall player or a head-to-head player, and your strategy will be different for these last few rounds.
Can I just add one more thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say? If you've had a bad season this season, don't sit there and think, oh, shit, everyone's better than me. I've done bad. I've made mistakes. No. Just learn. Like, mate, I've had a lot of good seasons, but I've also had seasons that haven't been good. I haven't suddenly been good one year and bad the next year. It's just that means that the decisions that I've made haven't played out the way I wanted to. You know, there's a lot of luck element in there as well. But the good players will most times come out on top following certain principles.
I totally agree. And that's one thing that with my work, what I do with work and everything, we have like a little process for sales, and we try to do we do our selling. And then one thing that people forget as part of the process is to actually review. Yeah. You go back and go, okay, I wasn't successful that time. What do I have to do to become more successful next time? And actually go through the process again. So I actually put it to you guys now. We could potentially do at the end of the season, do a little review of our seasons as a podcast and let everyone know just things that we learned this year and how we're going to better ourselves for next year. I think that's a good idea. We should do that. So maybe a little in the interim between that and the horse racing. So
yeah. Debrief sounds great. It's been ages since I've had a good debriefing.
That Dan, there's no worse feeling than going back and looking at the trades you made throughout the year. Yeah. And you sit there and why did I do that? What a dumb trade.
Well, I made some really, really good ones too a bit later on. So I'll just go, okay, there's something good coming up. Okay, something good will come up in the next trade. So
good coaches are learning. We're always learning.
Yeah, it's one thing to say is if you're going to fail hard and learn from that failure. That's the best way to actually learn. So I'm still wondering why I haven't done good this year because I failed quite a lot. So
come back a long way, mate. You've come back a long way.
That's it. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps everything up for tonight. How about we go around the grounds and talk about our trades for the week? So I know Timmy's still undecided. Do you have an idea what you're doing, mate?
No idea, mate. I'd say that the only one I'm locking in at the moment is Cooler. My centre wing's pretty strong, so I will probably maybe even drop him. I've got about 220k sitting in the bank, so I will most likely go Cooler to Murray, I would imagine, just to beef up my second row. I've already got Haas up in front row, and I've had him basically since the start of the season, so that's not a question. So I think that's probably one that I will go. And then I'll have 100 and something left over to maybe do something else. I was looking at Ming. I've got him down in second row, but I'm still not convinced that holding on to him for an extra front row spot and move him up there. Like I've got Andrew Fafita up there. If I've got another 120k in the bank, I can probably try and find someone for 350, 360. Someone like a Nat Butcher might be pretty handy. I don't know exactly what he's at, but he's probably someone who
I think it's 384 at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's certainly under 400. So I don't know if I can make things work to get to that, but he's probably one that I'd keep an eye on. Someone like that's under 400k that I think will go all right between now and the end as long as he can stay on the field. He had 15 minutes off last week and still didn't score terribly. So, I think if he stayed on the field for 80 minutes and scored a few more points, he would have been really handy to have.
Definitely. All right, Jake, you making any trades this week, mate?
Yeah, I think I'll be doing two. I'll be selling. I want to get Munster in for Walker, and about 30k or 40k short. And to be honest, the only way I can do it, I can't go Cooler to Mulo to Tracy. Anyone. The only way I can make it work is Olakau'atu to, and I'm going to go Nick Meaney. I'm going to back the Storm to have a big 2 weeks. Nick Meaney, he's on a 5-round average of over 70 against. I think the last 4 games they've been thumped and he's been scoring 70. So I'm actually tipping him to ton up the next 2 rounds. And so they're my 2 trades at the moment. And I just feel like a lot of he's high ownership, and if I don't have him, I can lose head to head. So
I like it a lot. All right, Glenn, making any trades this week, mate?
I don't think I'm going to trade this week, guys, but if I do, the trade I'm likely to make is Tass to Suwali. I'm already leaving out big names this week. I mean, thankfully Ola's out, so that gave me one I could rest, and I'm leaving out Dylan Brown and a couple other names. I think Mulatalo at this point. So I don't know if I make a trade, I'm just adding another headache for someone else that I have to leave out. So, but I do really like Sawali's matchup. So we'll see how it pans out. But at the moment, I think I'm not going to trade, mate, and just hold.
Yeah, no, fair call. All right, so I'm like very, very torn with what I'm going to do with my trades. I've had about 12 different options go through my head, but I think I'm leaning towards going Cody Walker to Matt Burton. To fund that, I'll need to potentially. I didn't want to downgrade someone to get another low player, so I have to sell Ola Kawatu, and I can bring in Meany as well. So I will be pretty upset about losing Ola Kawatu there, but I do. I've still got the 5 trades left after this round, and I realise I can probably easily turn Barnett, for example, back into Ola Kawatu or someone to combat not having Ola Kawatu in my team anyway. So other options was I can trade Ola Kawatu out for Harry Grant. I can bring any pretty much anyone in any position there except for 5'8". But I think I'm liking the upside of Meany, just seeing what he's done against teams that have smashed them over the last. I say smashed. There haven't been some massive smashings there, but they've lost 4 in a row, and that's unstorm-like at all. So really hoping he can do some good for me. We'll go on to captains and vice captains. So Timmy, what are your thoughts there, mate?
First game's Manly Roosters.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? So you'd have to have the VC on Teddy or Manu, I would think. I've got both and don't really know which way I'm going to go. As for my captain, I will probably go something fairly vanilla and maybe Nathan Cleary, but I haven't captained him for a while. But yeah, I think at the moment just to play a little bit safer and see how the round pans out, and then see if I need to chase points or bank points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with Cleary as well this is a tough matchup, and it's because Parramatta have been just dreadful the last few weeks. Yet for some reason they just magically appear when Panthers are up against them, and they're playing at home. So either it's going to be Penrith 30, Parramatta 4, or it's going to be Parramatta going to win 26-2. Like it's going to be something like that. It's a scary game for me as a Panthers fan to watch. But I like the Cleary captain choice without Luai there. I think he's going to get his hands on the ball even more. So I actually like it a lot.
I think if you're looking for a safe captain later in the round, probably Payne Haas as a safe captain. I think against the Tigers, I think he'll get plenty of ball. I think he'll probably, wouldn't surprise me if he plays big minutes either. I think the forward pack that the Tigers have got, they've got like Big Joey O. I'm sure he's going to be trying to put it back on his former club. So I think, yeah, Payne could probably be a fairly safe captain choice in for this round.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, Jake, captain and vice captain, mate.
Mate, I think I'll be just going straight C on Tedesco.
I like it.
My only NPR's Trent Peoples, and I'd have to leave out Fafita, Crichton, or Kickout, which I don't want to do. So, and then I'd Andrew Fafita's 15 points. So, I think I'll be going straight C on Tedesco, and I think any Rooster you'd go straight C on, you'd be happy with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I reckon so. All right, Glenn.
Yeah, so I'm doing the same thing. I'm actually straight seeing Tedesco, but there is a food for thought to go VC Teddy, and I think something out of that Storm game could be nice. I actually think this is a good matchup for Grant against the Warriors, who are playing at home, who are a very forward-heavy side, who tend to, around the second half, tend to fade off around the middle. So I think Grant could exploit that late in the half and get some points there.
Yeah, if you look at the SC stats page, the last 5 rounds, Warriors have leaked the most points to hookers. Yeah. And if you're going to leak points to hooker, and Harry Grant's against you.
I knew that. I just didn't want to tell everyone.
Safe C, I'd be going Tarpany.
Yeah, I like that. Yep. This might be the one where he scores a try.
I think this could be the game he does, and I reckon he'll have minimum 80 against the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right, so yeah, I am gonna do the vanilla thing. I'll say not vanilla, but the same thing everyone else is doing in straight C Teddy. My reasoning behind that is my only NPR that I have right now is Leo Thompson, and he is a risk 18th man right there. I do have the Manly boys there, but they're playing the first game as well. So if if I, for some reason, was to VC Manu or Tedesco and then put Leo Thompson captain, and that didn't work out for me, I would be very upset. So, so that's why I mainly lean towards that straight C. But like Timmy, I'm actually really torn. I'm going to do some really deep diving research into Teddy versus Manu. I'm really looking at that. I think just based on what Teddy can do after Origin, I think it's going to be Teddy. But I'm liking Manu, so I'm torn at the moment. And also my head-to-head opponent hasn't got Manu either, so it might be an extra pod. So
I feel like fullbacks are getting the points this year. Like any time a fullback goes out the back, and I think Manly's outside backs on both sides, that's where you're going to attack.
Yeah,
I mean, and if fullbacks sweeping around, it doesn't matter if it's a short pass, long pass, they're getting the points. So I feel like, but there could be a lot of kicks. I don't know what these other wingers are like with the Manly guys. I've got no idea about them.
I just got this image in my head of just really fast, short guys. I don't know. I've got coolers, little mini coolers in my head. That's all I've got. I don't know why. So
now that Sipley's been ruled out, I think that you'll find Fulton will come in. I actually think Fulton will start at second row and push Bullimore to the bench, and they'll play Bullimore through the forwards because they're a bit light in the forward area. So I feel that Bullimore will probably come in through the front row. And
that actually works probably kind of better because I think I was looking at Butcher and I thought, he'll tear the edge apart. But then I realized Bullimore's actually a very good defender.
Yeah.
If he plays in the middle and then Butcher is running at a different edge, it might be a decent little shout there.
Yeah.
For the same reason, I've looked at bringing Angus Crichton in this week. For much the same reason, he's a bit cheaper than what he normally is. Like I was talking about Nat Butcher before, Angus Crichton is certainly on the radar as well. I've just got to work out which positions I need to upgrade most to.
Look, most games, I feel like rugby league's a sport where the better team wins. It's not like soccer where you can defend and win 1-0. Rugby, better players win. And having 7 reserve grade players in there, this could be a touch-up,
Which then makes you wonder, like, especially the Origin guys and some of the boys that have had some lumps and bumps lately, is this a game where Teddy goes and spends the last 20 minutes sitting on the bench?
They can't afford to.
No, I understand that. But, I mean, if they're 30 points in front, they lose Teddy, there goes their finals. I mean, Manu can obviously play fullback, but he's a fairly instrumental player. And don't get me wrong, I would think Joey Manu's in much the same boat as well. If they lose Manu, that makes a difference. They've obviously got a few extra forwards now than what they have had in the past. I think the fact that the Roosters have already lost so many outside backs, they are those games where I could see some of those boys getting a rest if they're up by 30 late in the game.
They are running Connor Watson and Andrew Hutchison on the bench, which, two sort of ball playing, could easily cover those halves and stuff and shift.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is frustrating me now because I was all like set in stone, and now you guys are making me chew me nails. I'm not liking this at all.
Yeah, stay away from Tedesco, everyone.
Well, I'll just sell him. He's rubbish anyway.
If they're going to rest him, they'll be 50 up, and he'll be on 140 anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Breathing better now. Thanks, Jake. Voice of reason right there. Awesome. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it for captain. So let's move on to bold predictions. So I'm not sure if Jake has had any chance to think about one yet, but we'll start with Timmy. What's your bold prediction for the week?
Mate, I'm going to say 500 points across Roosters' backline. At least 500 points across their backline.
Okay. Making it really hard to me to write this down, mate. So Roosters' backline. If I need to get specific, I'm going to say between Manu, Suali, and Teddy, there's 500 points there. That's pretty good. Awesome. All right, Jake. Any bold predictions for you this week, mate?
I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna say Nick Meaney 120 plus.
I like this one. 120 plus. Awesome.
What's Meaney worth at the moment?
He's 589, I think he is, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty
Oh,
decent
what his
value.
BE is off head.
No,
No.
I haven't traded him in yet. I always wait for last minute.
So his BE is 64.
Oh, there you go.
Mm.
That's a decent shout then.
Yeah. Glenn,
All right,
bold
so
predictions, mate.
I've got 2 try scorers for them, and I've got 2 bold predictions. So I'm going to go S. Walker, 90 plus, Sam Walker, and I'm going to go Ezra Mam, 90 plus. And my 2 try scorers this week are Suwali for a double and Holmes for to cross anytime.
Holmes anytime.
Good shouts.
And the last 3 rounds, if anyone's been paying attention, I've literally got every single try scorer right. Like, literally everyone. That's just
Well,
last group.
And Glenn's happy to take a cut of your winnings.
Very happy.
All right. So I did touch on it earlier that I did hint towards my bold prediction being to do with the Cowboys. I think the Dragons are going to beat them this week. And that's because something the guy said last week on the podcast that Net Strata Jubilee seems to be a pretty decent place to play for the Dragons. And they played pretty well last week, the Dragons. So, and the Cowboys didn't really turn up too well at all to a Tigers game. So I'm going to say that, Cowboys will not win this week.
It'll be interesting if Cotter plays or not. If Cotter plays, then I would be very nervous on that one because I think that the Cows could win and win well. But if Cotter doesn't play, I'm with you, mate. I think that Dragons are a chance to win that game.
Well, you can say I had to be. I'm not going to be nervous on it because it's not like there's anything that happens. Like, so there's not like a guillotine hanging above my head, and if it doesn't come up, I die.
Yeah, that's right,
So I'm not that nervous really because I put some pretty crazy. If I was nervous about my bold predictions, mate, I'd be dead already because I put some pretty crazy ones out. So, all right, guys. Anything else you want to say today before we go?
And Dragons play final footy.
Yeah, thank you, Jake, for coming on this week. It's good to have you, mate, and have your insight. You've been a part of our Tragics for the last however many years, for a long time now. And we always chat with you before the pod, so it was good to have you on, mate.
Thanks, boys. I've had fun. So
yeah, sweet.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad debut, mate. It was probably better than most of us when we started, so good effort.
I was nervous. Had some stutters there early, but no.
All good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back again next week, Wednesday night or Thursday morning, more than likely, because it is quite late. I hope everyone sees some green arrows this week. Peace out.
Good luck, guys.
I want to win.
Okay.
I want that trophy. Throw it up! Throw it up! Throw it up! I want that trophy. Throw it up! Throw it up! Throw it up! I want that trophy.